Hello, everyone, and welcome to another movie review. I am happy that you can join me today. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Click the subscribe button below for future notifications and updates. Click the like button to share this content with other fans. All right, Borderlands is one of the most anticipated films of this weekend. I had to choose between Borderlands and This Ends With Us. And the issue I had with This Ends With Us is every time I watched the trailer for it, I couldn't tell what the movie was about. So I chose to watch Borderlands. Now, I have a request. According to the stats, people watch the first couple of minutes of each video I post. If you are interested in filmmaking, I highly suggest that you watch to the end of this review, and I will explain why after I give the movie synopsis. Borderlands is considered to be a sci-fi action comedy. It was directed by Eli Roth. I am not familiar with Eli Roth's work. It stars Cate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Edgar Ramirez, and Jamie Lee Curtis. It was released in theaters this past Friday, August 9th, and the running time is 1 hour 42 minutes. Borderlands is based on a video game series that was developed by Gearbox Software, and the film was in development for 9 years. That is a long time, but I have heard worse. I have heard some films being in development for 20 years. So anyway, Cate Blanchett plays the protagonist Lilith, who is a bounty hunter. Edgar Ramirez plays Atlas, a powerful man who hires Lilith to find his missing daughter, Tiny Tina, on the planet Pandora. Tiny Tina is played by Ariana Greenblatt. Lilith was raised on Pandora, and she reluctantly takes the job, even though she doesn't want to go back. When Lilith returns to Pandora, the first character she meets is a robot named Claptrap, played by the voice of Jack Black. And this robot comes out of nowhere for no apparent reason. The robot helps her find Tina, and when she finds her, she learns that Tina doesn't want to be rescued, she doesn't need to be rescued, and she explains to Lilith that she doesn't want to see her father because he wants to use her to open a vault that contains all the secrets and powers of the universe. Tina is accompanied by Roland, played by Kevin Hart, and Craig, played by Florian Montanu. Tina explains she has to find the keys to open the vault. Meanwhile, all 5 of these characters are chased by Atlas's army, which is only in the film for the purpose of creating a sense of danger and urgency in the story. To find the keys, they need the help of Dr. Tannis, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. And together, this team of 6 characters are on a mission to defeat Atlas. There is a twist during Act 3 that kind of explains what happened in Act 2, but it is not really a surprise. So, right after I bought my ticket to see this film, I found out that this film got bad reviews. So, I am giving this film 2 out of 5 stars. There were a couple of spots during Act 2 where I felt sleepy, so mentally I checked out of the film. But when I left the theater, I had a theory as to why the movie was bad. And so right before I started writing the review, I did a Google search. It took me a while to find the answer I was looking for, but based on what I found, I feel confident to share my theory with you all. This is not the worst film I have seen all year. Usually, bad films have bad acting. Borderlands actually have okay acting from Cate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, and Jamie Lee Curtis, which kind of blows my mind. Like, how did a bad film contain okay acting. That left me scratching my head. And then there is the story. Act 1 does an okay job explaining who the protagonist is, why we are following her, and what her mission is. So that's why I gave the film 2 stars. I wouldn't bash the film as hard as other critics because I do see some good aspects. However, my theory is, and I think I am right on this, every problem that you see in this movie boils down to one thing, and that is bad directing. And this is why I mentioned in the beginning of this review that if you are interested in filmmaking, this particular movie review is for you. If you want to be a filmmaker, you learn by watching good movies and bad movies. So I mentioned in other movie reviews that I have done in the past, and I'm going to say it again. I don't tell people not to watch a movie. I would rather you watch a movie and let me know in the comment box below what you thought of it. Just the other day, I was reading a very interesting comment that was posted for my Those About to Die series review. They disagreed with me on the cinematography, but it was an interesting comment to read. The reason why I had to do a research before writing this review is because I considered myself to be a film student, and it's hard to find a good book that explains what a film director does. And it is even more difficult to find information on what is the difference between good directing and bad directing. You can't just say, well, good directors make good movies and bad directors make bad movies. It is not really that simple. Having said that, a lot of people don't point out 2 things. Number 1, not every director should write their own screenplay. Da 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 da. Eli Roth wrote the screenplay. It is a mess. The plot is a mess, and it seemed as though some of the supporting characters were underdeveloped, and I don't understand why they were in the movie. In addition to that, video game adaptations consist of equal amounts of hits and misses. I don't play video games, so if Hollywood wants to make a profit, they have to make video game adaptations that appeal to the movie-going audience that don't play video games. So now my question is, were certain characters in the movie simply because they are popular with the gamers who play Borderlands? And why is it the movie does not explain why the title is Borderlands? For example, one movie that is based on a video game, The Prince of Persia, is one of my favorite action flicks. I like it. I can watch that film over and over and over again. Now, was it a hit with everybody? No, but it's currently on Disney Plus, and I enjoy it. I like Prince of Persia. I got it on DVD. So I don't, since I've never played Prince of Persia, I didn't know what it was about going into the movie, but I like it, and I continue to watch it whenever I feel like it. So again, like you can, do a really good video game adaptation for audiences that don't play video games. So moving on to number 2, the director has to supervise 3 groups of people: the crew, the cast, and the editing team. So after writing a problematic screenplay, the director clearly does not do a good job supervising his crew. Not every actor is convincing. You have comedic actors, Kevin Hart and Jack Black, who are funny. However, the movie is not funny at all. If it was described as a sci-fi action flick, I would not expect comedy. But the marketing execs sold the public a sci-fi action comedy. So I saw a comedy that was not funny. So my question is, where are the jokes? Where are the jokes at? Then there is the editing. The editing is problematic because it gets in the way of you understanding the plot. I don't understand how one scene led to another scene in certain areas of Acts 2 and 3. Like I mentioned earlier, the robot pops out of nowhere for no reason, and Atlas's army was the same. They popped out of nowhere for no reason. The movie is basically asking the audience to turn their thinking caps off and go for a ride. Because when I bought tickets to see this film, I found out they are showing this movie at the IMAX. I felt I wasted my money buying a standard ticket. Why would anyone buy the most expensive movie ticket to watch this movie? I think the IMAX tickets are more expensive than even the 4X tickets, the RDX tickets, and the 3D tickets. That's why when the reviews came out, I asked myself, how bad could this movie be when it is also released at the IMAX? The last time I saw a bad film, it was the Medea parody movie, and the theater was empty. This time I walked into a packed house. So this is one bad film that might break even, but I don't see it making a profit. But overall, the problem is bad directing. This was a poorly directed film. That's why you got two Oscar-winning actors giving okay performances. Cate Blanchett's performance was more consistently okay than Jamie Lee Curtis's performance. There were certain scenes where Curtis gave an okay performance, but in other scenes she gave a wooden performance. The bad directing is why the dialogue is on the nose and needs another rewrite. That's why there are holes in the plot. That's why the soundtrack is forgettable. That's why the special effects are just okay in certain scenes and the sound effects are loud for no reason. Whatever problem people see, whether we are talking about the critics or the audience, whatever problem you see in the film, it is because of bad directing. And bad directing is something we don't see very often. That doesn't mean it's not there. Sometimes the critics can spot bad directing where the audience can't. Sometimes the director hired a talented screenwriter, so the movie ends up good. Sometimes the director did a great job supervising the cast and crew during production, but something goes wrong during post-production. Sometimes production is filled with problems and issues, and the editor saves the film during post. My theory is the bad directing is so obvious in this movie because something went wrong in all three phases of the filmmaking process. So all the elements don't come together to make a passable movie. But there is one lesson we film students need to take away from Borderlands, and that is it is difficult to be a director, and so I hope movie fans appreciate great filmmakers like Spike Lee and Martin Scorsese who consistently make great films. So that is all for today, my friends. I will stop here because I can go on a rant as to how bad Borderlands is, but I won't. I'm going to keep this as tight as possible. So, thank you all for watching as always, and I will see you next time with another movie review. Until then, have fun at the movies.